Hello, Fort Collins Startup Week. Thank you so much for having me here. I'm delighted to be able to share with you about a little different perspective on being in business these days. My name is Karen Joy Fritz. I live here in Fort Collins, and I've lived here for over 30 years. I've also been an entrepreneur for over 30 years, and I've done a lot of different kinds of businesses. Some I liked, some I didn't, not so much. I've done freelance and consulting. I've done the agency model and being a landlord. I've done all kinds of collaborative work, and I've discovered what fits me. And you know what? Some of those businesses flopped. They made no money. Others made great revenue, but not so profitable. And then there were ones that were hugely profitable. In fact, some of those businesses are still running. At this point, I'm debt-free. I own my home, I own all my vehicles, and I have background income that supports all my flow rate, the insurance, the groceries, and so on, at about 6 hours a week average. And I like it like that. I'm thinking, maybe I don't want to go back to the hustle. And toward the end of last summer, when we were starting to think about coming out of quarantine and what was going to be our next evolution, I just thought, I don't want to go back to the hustle. I don't want to have to give my life over to my business. I'd kind of been playing with the idea of sell everything and go live in an RV, because there's something about that tiny home philosophy that really draws people. The idea of having all the things you love right there with you and no excess, no overhead, nothing else you have to pay for. You don't have to clean extra stuff. So that idea of a tiny house was really appealing. And what I realized was that what I really want is a tiny biz. I want a business that provides me an opportunity to continue to participate in the community, to continue to do good in the world and do it at a profit. And yet a business that's not going to own me, a business that's not going to consume me. Because now there are other things that are important in my life in addition to what I do in the work world. So that's why today I want to talk with you about the tiny business model. So today we're going to talk about the soul of a tiny biz, how to actually manage it and make it sustainable by balancing out money and meaning. The things we're going to cover today are, what is a tiny biz? I mean, face it, I made this up. And so it needs a little explanation. But I think for the right people, you're going to really like what you see. Why does it make sense now? Well, it's perfect for what's going on in our world right now. And I think it's got some shelf life. How do you find your flow and what might work for you in designing a tiny biz that allows you to maximize your freedom? Let's go ahead and look in. So the idea of a tiny biz is to minimize your overhead. And this is both your expenses, the things that you have to pay for, as well as the time that you have to put in. So you minimize the overhead, and in exchange, you might just choose a moderate income. There are a lot of situations where you don't really need to be maximizing income. More is good, but the truth is, after a baseline, looking at that more becomes a choice. And I want us all to be more at choice. And the outcome is that we're actually maximizing our freedom. We're able to put our attention on what has meaning for us, whether that's our family or a hobby or our health or our community and doing social work, whatever it is. By constraining the business entity, we actually free more of our life. Here are some of the fundamental models that I work with. I think they make sense. So in the lower left is the old model, the let's build an empire. Everybody should want 7 figures. Everybody should want to have themselves as the CEO of a large organization. And there's a time in life when that is a great endeavor. And there are people who are designed to really give all that they've got in that one place. But sometimes we have seasons in our lives. For example, in the upper left, you'll see the caregiver. This might be somebody who has children at home doing that online schooling, and they don't have 40 hours a week to put into a business. Not only that, but they don't have 8 hours a day, right? It's got to fit in with when the kids are in school. Or it might be somebody who has an elder that they're caregiving for, or a significant other, or it may be their own health issues that really put constraints on what's available in business. I know I faced this when my health gave out a few years ago. And I was working with a business coach, and she was like, Karen, everybody has 24 hours in the day. And I thought, well, yes, there are 24 hours on the clock, but at this time, my body is wanting to sleep for 12, get up and do something for an hour and then take a nap, maybe take another couple hours and do something, but then I have to lie down and rest. My body didn't give me the same amount of time that was available to some other people, or that had been available to me earlier in my life. Or as it turns out, what's becoming available later in my life. It was just a season, but I needed to build my business to honor that. The next one that I want to talk about a little bit is the center left, and that is the townie. I meet a lot of women, especially, but sometimes men, where their spouse is actually the breadwinner, right? All the bills are covered, they have enough, and yet a little more would be helpful. And even more than that, they want to give, right? These are people who want to still do good in the world, even though they don't have to be in it for the money. The thing is, oftentimes that partner's lifestyle is built around their business. And so they need to come home and find dinner, or there's some big meeting that they need to be able to take off for and take their spouse along and make it a week-long vacation. Just pick up and go. So that's another season of life when it makes sense to say, yeah, I'm here for this part of my life and my business fits in what's left. The next one's one of my favorites. This is the enthusiast, right? The ski bum, or the surfer dude, or the artist, or the Zen monk, right? Somebody who has something else in their life that takes first place, something else that they love to do, and they want to be able to give their attention to that. And then they need a business to be able to support themselves, right? They want their business to do good. They want to be very productive in their business, but the business is not the point of their life. And again, the seasons can change, right? Settle down, have a family, have more time available for during, quote, business hours, whatever. These are all things that we can mix and match and change as we go through our lives. The last one is perhaps the prototypical idea for a tiny biz, and that's somebody who wants to be able to live on the road, be a total digital nomad, whether they're in an RV or they're going and living in different cities for a month at a time, but they can't be tied down with local requirements like, oh, attend this meeting for networking every week. That's just not going to work for them. Or deliver these products in person, hands-on. You got to think around those things. So these are some of the ways that the Tiny Biz model looks at what's going on in the seasons of your life and says, hey, what's really most important right now? And what of that can be expressed through your business, but what of it needs your business to go take a back seat for a while, right? Now, this is not the common knowledge, right? What's going on in our marketplace right now is, of course, you want to build a 7-figure business. Why would you settle for less at a 6-figure business, right? And sometimes this comes with shaming, right? Go big or go home. Oh, are you just playing small? Like, I'm not playing small if I'm dealing with my health issues. I'm handling what I need to handle to be able to play it all. So that tone or that message that shows up in the marketplace, it kind of creates that imaginary gap. Oh, I guess I must need to go and buy something in order to make me uh, more money, right? So then people come in with the silver bullet. Well, you have to do this one thing or you'll just never be successful. Or the fads and trends. Here's the new way to get in and market in this particular way on social media so that, right, I've got the key that you've been missing. And that little push in there often can speak louder than that quiet voice in our heart. Quiet voice says, I'm here to do good. I have really unique contribution to make, and I need to be compensated for it. There is an energy exchange. But it doesn't necessarily say, I need to maximize financial gain. There's a season for that. That's not what we're talking about today, right? That is also a lot of what's behind most business and entrepreneurial best practices. Of course, you want the curve to go up and to the right. Of course, you want to have that continuous growth in your business year over year. Of course, well, no, maybe not. Maybe more isn't always better. Maybe enough is better. Maybe what fits with my family is better. Maybe what doesn't push me into exploiting the environment or exploiting workers or whatever. More is not always better. Okay, that might be one of my little contrarian perspectives, but I think it's growing, right? That sustainable is better. And sometimes for us, sustainable means fit with what works for me. That's what makes it soulful. And of course, we're always going to hit, this is the second thing that I hit, right? Last summer, first I decided I don't want to go back to this idea of building a huge business. I don't need it, and I don't need to be investing in it, so I'm just not going to do it. That was fun. It was great for like the first 2 hours, the first 2 days, the first 2 weeks. And then the indoctrination starts, right? Shouldn't you be busier? Shouldn't you be out there doing something? You have excess capacity. I'm like, yes, I have excess capacity because I want to pursue my art, because I want to be with my family. But that little voice inside says, you should be hustling. So I had to do some good inner work. And luckily I've got the shadow work tools to be able to go in there and have those conversations and shift the mindset. But that was kind of like the hidden gremlin in starting a tiny biz. But now somebody's been through it for you. So you can come and play and we'll work it together. See, the truth is money is not the only thing that a business gives us. It's one of multiple kinds of value. For us, for our family, for our clients, for our community, for our local economy, right? There are multiple kinds of value to be created, one of which is financial, right? You're not going to go into this and lose money, right? You want to be making a profit. And beyond that, do you want more profit? Or do you want to use your attention for free time, loving your people, giving your gift, writing your novel, whatever it is? So looking at the multiple kinds of value that you can create is how you start to balance out this tiny biz concept, right? This is where we're looking at that money, meaning, money, meaning. So when we think of working within a constraint, right, the whole thing about a tiny house is It has to be able to go down the road, which means basically it can be 8 feet wide, usually 20 feet long, 14 feet high because they got to fit under the overpasses. Now, when we translate that into our business, we do not want to be running our business 24/7, 365, right? That's what we're moving away from. We want to consider where our constraints show up in terms of time. How much time do we want to put into it? In terms of money, how much do we want to invest based on the amount of profit we want to create? That's cool, but no extra, okay? One of the things I found this summer was I had all kinds of software subscriptions that I wasn't actually using. So I looked through and all the tools that I love, I kept. All the tools I was no longer using, delete, unsubscribe, delete those subscriptions. I created a lot more profitability right there. How much energy do I want to put into it? What time of day, right? When are my kids around? When does my coffee kick in? How is the energy flow going to work? Do I want to be working one-on-one? Do I want to be doing this kind of talk to the screen, right? And then let everybody consume the information at their leisure. Do I want to be in a group and feel the energy of the people back and forth? There's a lot of different ways to consider that. Where do I want to put my attention? How much attention do I want to give to the direct customer service or the creative art that I'm providing or the marketing that I'm doing around it or the finances? Where does my attention belong? As I mentioned, for some of us, I'm one of them, location is a piece of it. I want to be able to take my business on the road. That means I have to find a way to have my computer hold all the files because I am not carrying file cabinets with me in my van, right? I've got a conversion van that I built. I've got a little motorcycle on the back, and I can go all over the place and enjoy many, many areas as long as I can do my business from the van. So paperless works for me. And my relationships. Do I want to focus on building business relationships with the many, the few, the local, the distant, right? Which relationships do I want to build my constraints around? Lots of questions that we can look at. This is the cool part, right? Is that when we actually start taking these perspectives, we have more choices. So, what do I want to compare these possibilities against? I want to look at them compared with my style. I don't want to look at them compared with somebody who is a complete linear thinker, loves the hierarchical models. I also don't want to look at them compared with somebody who's an audio learner, because I'm not. I'm a visual learner. That's why I love making slides to describe things and having my tools support me visually. Right? It's got to fit my style. So it has to fit what's your purpose, right? For me, I know that my purpose is to bring more uniqueness and expression of that uniqueness into the marketplace. I'm not going to be a relationship coach. And there's a lot of good reasons for that. And I'm not going to be a parenting coach, although I love my sons and I'm pretty pleased with who they built themselves to be. My gift is in business, right? That's why I go into the productivity stuff. I have lots of other gifts. Part of the Tiny Biz is being able to focus it. So if my purpose has to do with helping other businesses be successful, focus on that. So think about what your purpose is and what calls to you. What is it on this planet that you want to take a stand for, work on behalf of, right? And then your values, how do you want to show up for that, right? Some of my values are creativity and freedom and joy and community. So I build those into my business. And if I can't build it into my business, I constrain my business so I can build it into my life. That's it. Yes. Personality, I already mentioned, I love the visual stuff. If you're a relationship focused person, you want to build your business structures around those key relationships, whatever fits introvert, extrovert, right brain, left brain, your personality. And of course, your goals, not what somebody told you you should be wanting, not what you think would be great to create, but it really isn't feasible given the constraints of your life right now. I was talking with somebody who was, oh yes, I'm going to go and build a multiple six-figure business and I can have these offers for these clients and these people can have this. And then she realized she was actually only available between 9 and 1 because her kids would be home from school otherwise. And that was her priority. So when her goal is to raise a healthy family and to build a profitable business around that, things can change. So there's a handout for you. You can find that handout either on the Fort Collins Startup Week download page, or if somehow the video has gotten disconnected from that web page, I put it on my site at KarenJoyFritz.com. Very clever, huh? KarenJoyFritz.com/TBTalk-handout.pdf. No opt-in required. So the front side of the page just has this foursquare. And what I want you to look at in the top two boxes are freedom from and freedom to. So just take a couple of minutes. You can stop the video if you want and write in those boxes. What are the things you want freedom from? Freedom from parts of the business you don't like? Freedom from inner stress? Freedom from feeling trapped? Freedom from ... And then write down, what is it that you want freedom to? Because when we say as entrepreneurs, oh, freedom is one of my top values, it doesn't always mean go live, in an RV traveling all the time. That's not the only kind of freedom. So what is it that freedom means when you're setting that up in, I want a business that gives me freedom? Go ahead and stop the recording if you want to take a couple more minutes to write on that. And I'm going to go on to look at what you put in that box. And does your current business fit? Does it really give you the freedom from? Does it really give you the freedom to? Are there little things that you could just tweak for now that would help the current business to fit better? That's a good start. Then, this is a bonus. You can go back and do this one later. Looking at those things, the freedom from and the freedom to, what do just looking at those lists tell you about the values of the person who wrote them? Different way to look at yourself. So knowing what you want freedom from and freedom to lets you then start to map that to how you design your business, right? So you can look at the products or services that you're providing. Are you doing one-to-one? Are you doing service or a physical product that you have to be able to deliver? Is it being drop shipped, right? Like the books that I've written, they're on Amazon. Amazon prints those and delivers them for me. I don't have to do it because I'm not going to take a box full of books in my van, right? That's just not going to work. So designing those products and the way your service delivery works, the audience that you want to serve. Again, if you want to serve a local audience, then you might need to be local. If you want to serve an online audience, you don't have that constraint. How your delivery works, local, remote, one-to-one, group programs. The pricing is certainly going to reflect, well, do I need to charge more to cover my gas? Do I say, hey, I can get away with charging a lot less? Right? At this point, since I am debt-free and I have background income, I can provide affordable services. Now, I've done the same thing as high ticket packages. I don't always have to do that. I'm free to be able to support people who are doing cool stuff. They have interesting ideas and they're going to be making a big difference with their business, right? I get to support clients who are using their business as a force for good in the world. That's a choice I can make, and I can base it on my pricing. It's a cool thing to be able to do. What hours are you available? Often this gets put up around kid schedules or flexibility. Do you need to be able to be interrupted, right? If you are caring for an elder parent and they ring the button, you've got to be able to get up and go handle that. Either you're doing one-on-one client work and you tell your clients so they'll understand, I'll be right back. Or you have it set up so perhaps you're delivering recorded things and you show up once in a while for a group Q&A, right? You can get somebody to cover the other room for you during that time. So designing your business based on how interruptible you need to be. And your marketing channel. Now this can be everything from where are your people hanging out to where do you like to hang out? Some people like Facebook, some people don't. Well, don't do things you don't like, right? Find things that you do like. One of my favorites was taking my game on tour, right? I invented a game that allows people to learn business skills by playing a game. So I can go on tour in my van and do game nights. That's a totally different marketing model from I have to respond to 27,000 Facebook messages a day. That would not fit me, right? I'm an introvert. I get to set it up the way that I like. And by constraining it, right, I'm also doing the things where it's very efficient for the amount of time and attention that I put in, given the level of revenue and profitability that I'm coming back. That's the way I can keep focused so that my tiny biz is sustainable, both for itself, but also for my lifestyle, financially and energetically. So on your little worksheet, in the lower left box, the Freedom From side, write down what it is in your current business that ties you down. If you have employees and you have to reschedule them every time somebody is sick, that can tie you down. If you have set up an expectation or a commitment that you're going to show up live every day, whether it's in a store or on a live, like online, right? That can tie you down. If you have projects that take huge amounts of focus or long periods of time, right? If I want to be able to go and take 2 weeks to ride my motorcycle, I want to be able to say I have a project that takes, 8 weeks, and then I can take 2 weeks off. I'm not going to take a project that takes 6 months. That's just style. You get to choose. So write down the things that currently tie you down in your business. Take more time if you want to stop the video and put more things in the box. So now we're going to look at if we take a tiny house floor plan. We're playing with the analogy here. What makes it work? What makes it work is simplicity. You get a kitchen, that's important. You get a great room, often it doubles as your office and your sitting room and your watching TV room and your reading room. It just serves a lot of purposes. If you're lucky, you have a second bedroom that you can say, that's my office. You're always looking at storage. Where's the storage in a tiny house? And you have a bedroom and a bathroom. Okay, so that's pretty clear. What would you need in a business? Well, you've got to have marketing. You have a way to serve your clients, to actually do the delivery of the thing that they're paying for. And you have to have your operations to keep things flowing. Your finance, your HR. For entrepreneurs, HR is self-care. For those of us who are solo and very small businesses, you have to have your technology and you have to have your visioning time when you are acting as that CEO. So how do we adapt that floor plan to fit the tiny biz? What if we take the business model canvas, right? So this is a fairly common tool that's used in the business world where you can lay out and model how the parts of your business fit together so that you end up with a profitable revenue stream. Let's look at it. Just generically, what actually goes into a tiny biz? Generally on the marketing side, it's all about focus. One audience, one service that you're delivering, maybe scaling it a little bit, and one channel that you're talking with them. You're not going to try and show up everywhere. You're not going to try and spin all the plates because you have better things to do with your time and attention, right? That's the freedom piece. So the delivery then gets to be based on what are your constraints and priorities. What do you mean constraints and priorities? The constraints and priorities that we've been talking about all this time, right? This big thing right in the center of the page. What time do I have available? What time do I not have available for this business? What energy and attention do I want to put into the business compared with other things in my life? Where do I want to be located and how long do I want to be there? What relationships matter to me within the business and in my life that I'm building the business around? What money is available? What money do I need out? And what other forms of freedom matter to me? Right? That's the central pillar. Simplifying the marketing, focusing, supports that. Also, designing your delivery mechanisms are how you support that. And then when you look at your operations, it's all about making the computer do the work, right? Getting your technology efficient, having your systems that literally keep you in flow. So you don't get distracted, you don't go down a rabbit hole, right? You get to focus your business time on your business, and then you get your attention back. And the idea is your revenue streams stay very, very simple, right? Because all of this is geared toward matching the quality of life you're looking at. Okay, so let's start to play with that on your worksheet. So in the other bottom right corner, start to write down which part of your current business generates the most income. That's one key that you might want to keep that part. I know that last year when I had a very integrated business offering and I was working with people on their business model and strategy, and I was working with people on their systems and implementation, and I was working with people on their self-development, right, to grow into who this business needed them to become. That's great, but it's a lot of complexity. And when I decided to come back in as a tiny biz, I said, hey, I'm just going to focus. I'm going to focus on the one that's easy, the one where people say, oh yeah, I know I want to be more productive. How can I be more productive on my purpose? So I can focus in on just doing the productivity pieces and, being the personal shopper for tech. It just delights me. And not have to say, oh, and I need to also have this high ticket package and I need to also do these retreats, because maybe those were not actually as profitable. So looking at all the things that you're currently offering or doing in your business, what's really generating the income? And the second thing, as I mentioned, where's the delight? What is the part that you really, really love? That's another indicator. If it's feeding you energetically, it can be a keeper, right? That's all we're trying to do is look at what are the keepers. And then on the other side, what are just the distractions? So put those again in that lower left box. Oh, I've been doing this. And the truth is that network has never generated a single lead for me. Or, gosh, I've also been retweeting all this stuff, and nobody's ever come back in business on that account. So looking at what is actually not producing, it's just a distraction. Keep everything you love and eliminate the distractions. That's kind of the point. Right. So I mentioned those 4 different reasons for having a tiny biz. You know, in any different, any new home development, they always name the floor plans. So I named the floor plans. We have the caregiver for those who have family at home, or whether it's children or elders. And we have the townie for those people whose spouse is actually producing the income and they still want to be able to give their good in the world. We have the enthusiast, whether it's the ski bum or the artist who wants to actually have time available and flexibility to do the thing that they love. And we have the Nomad floor plan that lets you take your business on the road. Let's look at how some of those are playing out a little differently. So the first one is the caregiver. This one has been super highlighted by having our kids at home during online school. And now we're not, you know, I meet a lot of women who are not just business owners, and they're not just, they're also the teacher, they are the playground referee, they are the lunchroom, everything, right? Well, in that case, your marketing needs to be really, really focused because there's not really a lot of time left for business. Let's face it, those kids are going to be grown and gone, or grandma, and you want to be able to be there for them. So the priorities are family first, right? Or personal health challenges. If I'm not healthy, I can't do anything. And I can't always predict when I'm going to be available. I know that with my own energy levels, right? I could never tell you that next Thursday from 10 to 1, I'm going to have the certain kind of energy level that's my time block to be able to write. I just keep all my tasks open, and when it's the right energy level, I do them. But it has to be flexible because that's how my body works now. So the delivery has to be constrained around those times. I just set up my automated scheduler. It looks at my calendar and says, when is she available between these hours? And if there's something already scheduled, it doesn't offer that to a client. So clients see things, time frames that I'm delighted to talk to them. That works really well. And I can do my meetings local or online. Obviously, in the last year, a lot of them have been online, but I'm also discovering, boy, that sure cuts down on the commute time. Boy, that sure makes it easier to take notes, record if I want to, whatever it is. So these are all things that you can consider as you are designing your business. Then the challenge is going to be to hold the boundaries. And honestly, it's not so much holding the boundaries with the family, it's holding the boundaries with the business. No, I'm not going to just stay up an extra hour and write that blog post. No, I'm not going to compromise my family dinner time and take a client at 6 p.m. Right? So I have to hold the boundaries on the business. And then I can use my tech. Obviously, it's going to support me because if I have to get up and walk away while I'm developing something, it's still there and I can come back and get back into the flow. It's all about making sure it matches what's going on in your life. Now, let's look at the townie. This one's a little different, right? Because this is actually planning around the partner. So the priorities, I have to be available around my partner's hours. And that might be, I want to spend evenings with my partner because that's when they're home. Or I need to be able to take 4-day weekends when these trade shows come up or whatever they might be. I still, though, I want to be able to express myself. I want to provide something to the community. I have good to give, and I want to give it in a profitable way, no doubt. So what do I want to do? I probably want my marketing to be based locally, right? I'm in this town because this is where my spouse's job is, right? They might be in medical or whatever. So I'm here. I can go and network locally. I can volunteer locally. I can do a lot of things. Maybe I can also do a little bit online, but the chance is I only want to have one offer. I don't want to build something that's really confusing with this level and this level and this segment of marketing audience and that segment of audience. Like, I've got to keep it simple because I do have constraints. And I have to make sure that during my delivery, yeah, I could do it local or online. That's cool. But I need to have big time chunks available in case it's, the shareholders meeting that I'm going to or whatever. The key in this one is making sure that everything is repurposable, right? That the things that I say locally, I can also repurpose online, that I can reuse a lot of things so that I'm giving my good rather than focusing on reinventing the wheel all the time. It's a little different perspective, right? All right, now this one, I am the enthusiast. I want to go skiing every day all winter, or I want to have at least 3 days a week in my art studio, or fill in the blank, whatever it is that matters more than anything at this stage of life for you. Right? It doesn't have to be at the same, like these can be sequential. You can phase in and out of these and having a full corporate job. It's all available. It's just a different model to consider based on our seasons of life. So for the enthusiast, it's about having large chunks of free time. I might be on the road or I might be here at my art studio, so that's not it, but it's about where my attention goes, which means where my attention does not go. I do not want to be spending a whole bunch of time building multiple marketing funnels and making those all fancy, right? I want to do the minimum overhead so that I can get back to my fun stuff, still do good in the world, still be profitable. So I can work online. I might do freelance work, right? It might be odd hours. Maybe I ski all day and edit videos or do graphical design in the evenings. Personally, I love to work weekends so that then I can take time during the week to go ride my motorcycle when the roads are more open. Well, when it's not winter, right? So again, for the enthusiast, make the computer do the work and make sure that you're taking care of yourself, right? You want to have that energy that's available to actually do the good that you can still do, because there's a lot of it. The work you're going to be doing is probably either very repetitive, like proofreading, right? That can be very repetitive, or very, very unique, right? It can be such a niche to provide that unique service that you have only for these particular people. And they're not going to go anywhere else for it. And they're going to be happy when you work your midnight to 2 a.m., whatever is happy making for you, so that you can fulfill their need. And finally, the Nomad. This one is interesting because there's a lot of frequent movement and there's a minimum amount of space, like literal space. So everything needs to be portable. It needs to be able to stop and start. It can't require showing up at a local networking meeting every week to exchange leads, right? So for the most part, this one's going to be an online business. The marketing is going to be online. You might have a couple of channels, right? Different social media that you participate with. You might be on Facebook and YouTube, but you're not going to let it take over your life. And you may actually be designing your business marketing around your passion. Right? That can become your branding. That's what makes you special and unique. And your delivery then, a lot of times it's going to be either online, one-on-one, or one to a group, delivering kind of a class, or it'll be products that you can drop ship, sometimes through an Amazon store. Okay. So it can be either a service-based thing, a product-based, or a subscription. Subscribe to my YouTube, become a Patreon subscriber. Right? So those are 4 different ways to start to look. With any floor plan, it's all about you get to customize it. And so these are ways you can start to look at it. The thing is remembering that we no longer have to be locked into this idea that bigger is better, right? Sometimes enough is better. Simple is better. And these can also be viable models. It involves shifting the focus a little bit from revenue to profit, right? Not just how much money I make, but how much I keep. And that makes it so that you have to pay attention to the expense sides in money and in energy, time, attention, right? Only you are going to know what your definition and priorities for freedom are, right? You made that little sheet of freedom from and freedom to. Those can become your priorities in designing your business. And only you know what makes your life meaningful to design your business around your family at this season of life, or your art, or your sport, or the business itself. Empires are not wrong. They just don't fit every season. You are actually free to design a business that fits for you, right? And if you would like to hang out in a community of other people that are figuring out what a tiny biz means, how to make it work better, what really matters and what's a distraction, we have a free Facebook group. It is Facebook/group/Tiny Biz Village. And there are ideas in there. There are shortcuts and things that you can use in there. My intention is that someday we'll have a little tiny biz marketplace and it'll work like a farmer's market, right? So we can collaborate with each other. If you'd like more detailed information, I actually made a webpage about it. It's atinybiz.com. And that is hosted on my website at karenjoyfritz.com. I would love to connect with you and discuss it more, what parts might fit for you, how you might be able to make it more efficient. I can help with that. Or we can just hang out and make it fun to be in business together. Thank you for your time. Enjoy the rest of Fort Collins Startup Week.